Hello, everybody. Welcome to Connected Habits Coaching presentation on blood sugar. My name is Vanessa Cohn, and we're going to get started. So just a little bit about me. If you don't know anything about me or my story, I'm an integrative health practitioner level 2. I'm a precision nutrition level 1 certified nutrition coach, and I'm a certified personal trainer. I've helped hundreds of clients optimize their metabolism, lose weight, balance hormones, and break through their weight loss plateaus. And I do that by focusing on data-driven solutions that fix the root cause of imbalances in the body. I'll talk more about this later, but I do offer functional lab testing to look at the optimal ranges of people's body and their markers to see where some imbalances are and work to correct that to have the body functioning well and healthily as a whole. I'm so passionate about helping driven individuals, whether it be men or women, reclaim their health, optimize their metabolism, and build strength by addressing the root causes of weight loss resistance, burnout, and hormonal imbalances through personalized coaching, science-backed strategies, and sustainable approach. I empower my clients to feel strong, energized, and in control of their bodies for life. You are not going to find any fad diets here. I've been there, done that years ago, and it just doesn't work. And I like to show people what does. So blood sugar is what we are talking about today. Now, what is it? So blood sugar will be used interchangeably in this presentation with the term blood glucose or glucose. And essentially, it is the amount of sugar that circulates in your bloodstream and provides energy to your cells. Things like food and stress and lifestyle will impact your blood sugar, which then affects your energy levels, your hormones, and potential future chronic illnesses. Blood sugar is measured when you get your blood work done and they draw blood for your standard labs that you do once a year. It is one of those markers that is tested. And you want to do it fasted because it gives the most optimal time of day when the body has not had any food, and it gives a good number of, on average, what the body is like after fasting. And you want it to be between 75 to 89 milligrams per deciliter. And I just want to make a little note here. I use, as an integrative health practitioner, I use optimal ranges. The normal ranges on regular labs are based on the population, and the average person is not healthy. So those numbers are actually going to be skewed towards an unhealthy population. So I like to use optimal ranges where people should be to feel their best and feel their most optimally healthy. So that would be 75 to 89 for fasted blood glucose. Insulin is a related marker. It is a hormone, but you want that between 1 and 6. And then your A1C is also a related blood sugar hormone or blood sugar. A1C is also a related blood sugar marker, and you want that between 4.9 and 5.4 optimally. I want you to think about the symptoms that you experience in your life and see that it is actually tied to blood sugar. So if you feel sudden energy crashes throughout your day, you get really tired, maybe mid-morning or mid-afternoon, you feel tired after meals, you're weak, noticing any muscle weakness, things that weren't there before, you might be craving sugar, you might be craving carbs, you might struggle with anxiety, nervousness, frequent urination, increased thirst, brain fog, low motivation, and even more. All of these things are tied to imbalanced blood sugar, among other things. So why should you care? The hot topics when I work with most clients is how can I lose weight? How can I fix my hormones? But they don't stop to think about their blood sugar and how their blood sugar could be impacting the symptoms they're feeling and the issues that they struggle with. So I'm just going to go over how blood sugar can relate to different things that we struggle with, like hypoglycemia, too low blood sugar, hyperglycemia, which is blood sugar that is too high, insulin resistance, that's essentially your body has trouble regulating insulin and you have trouble losing weight as a result of that. Diabetes is affected by blood sugar, prediabetes, metabolic syndrome, trouble losing weight also, metabolic disorders, and adrenal dysregulation. On the right of the slide, we're going to be looking at obesity is tied to blood sugar issues. So is fatty liver disease, thyroid dysfunction, mitochondrial dysfunction, and neurological and cognitive decline. Things like Alzheimer's are tied to blood sugar. In fact, many medical professionals are calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes because over time, the dysregulation of blood sugar can lead to cognitive and neurological problems. there's even more. The second slide of how blood sugar is related to common diagnoses and ailments, like lipid and fat metabolism disorders, like having abnormal cholesterol, whether it's too high or too low. Same thing with triglycerides tied to blood sugar. So is fatty acid oxidation disorders tied to blood sugar. And then on the right, it's going to talk about hormonal and reproductive metabolic disorders. So PCOS, that women will face with irregular menstrual cycles and cramps and horrible symptoms, things like estrogen dominance, progesterone deficiencies, testosterone imbalances. They can also go down and be tied to blood sugar. Testosterone imbalances is tied to blood sugar as well. All right, is this you? Even if you can relate to some of those symptoms from earlier, or you might have heard those diagnoses when your doctor has spoken to you, this is the cycle made visual through this chart about the roller coaster that many people are on. So in the green here, this is your optimal level of healthy blood sugar, and anything outside of that is going to be too high or too low. So this down here, this valley is what we're going to call that. Your blood sugar is low after a night of sleep. So what you do is you eat a nice big carb, big sugar breakfast, and boom, that is the first blood sugar spike of your day. A lot of people will have some pancakes or a donut, cinnamon roll, maybe, sugary cereal for breakfast, and that will spike their blood sugar. And then a couple hours later, bam, it falls below the green area, and that's going to be your first fall. It's going to go up again because you're hungry and your body wants a snack. And the little print here, it kind of gives you what's going on biologically, but after you eat a meal, insulin, which is a hormone, is released to use that glucose and the sugar from the foods that you're eating to go to the cells, because the cells use that for energy. The amount of glucose that the cells don't use, some of it is stored in the liver, and if the liver is full, it gets stored as fat as well. This is what happens when people eat too much, or when people eat too much. So you have your snack, and then your blood sugar drops again, and then you're hungry just a little bit later. So this up and down cadence is the cycle of many people, unfortunately. And this constant up and down movement can lead to insulin resistance. It can also lead to other metabolic disorders. So we really want to be careful with this high peaks and low valleys when it comes to blood sugar. If you feel familiar with or acquainted with that mid-afternoon or after lunch energy crash, many of us, this was myself included, I would feel the need for caffeine. Like it's 2 o'clock and I just need a cup of coffee to get through the rest of the day. What that caffeine does is it raises cortisol in the blood. Caffeine is a stimulant, and cortisol is released to help with that. It's also released in stressful situations, and sometimes stimulants can be stressful to the body, especially if it's a stimulant that is too high for the body's actual need. So cortisol in the blood will increase blood sugar, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So the tie between cortisol and blood sugar is that cortisol is released in the blood to provide quick energy during a stressful situation by taking stored glucose to use for energy. If you're not familiar with cortisol, you might have heard it likened to our stress hormone. It's also a get up and go hormone. It's also released when your body is under stress. And so when that is released, it also signals the body to release stored glucose or stored blood sugar. It's stored in the liver. Sometimes it's also stored in muscles, but that hits the bloodstream. So the high presence of cortisol will also equal the high presence of sugar in the bloodstream. And that's not where we want it. We want our sugar in our cells so our cells can use it for energy, not in the bloodstream. So when we are stressed all the time, like so many of us are with our packed schedules, back-to-back activities, responsibilities, and all of that, we have a lot of cortisol in the blood and we have a lot of blood sugar in the blood. And that's not good. This can lead to insulin resistance. It can lead to blood sugar dysregulation, especially if this is our routine pattern day after day after day. If you're on that blood sugar roller coaster starting in the morning and it looks like that day after day after day, guess what? That adds up and you're going to have a lifetime of dysregulated blood sugar. I'll tell people, Diabetes didn't start the day before you got the diagnosis. It was a lifetime of choices that had happened. Or other diseases don't just get diagnosed when they get diagnosed. It is a pattern of lifestyle habits. It is a pattern of nutritional choices and lifestyle choices that people make to get to that spot. I want to give you guys practical solutions as we go through this, because while it may seem overwhelming on how to monitor something that you can't see, like your blood sugar, there are ways to balance it very simply. Anybody could do this. And that is spacing your meals out between 3 and 4 hours between them to keep that blood sugar response nice and stable. We'll talk more about how exactly to structure those meals, but this is the first thing that you can start to implement to start to balance your blood sugar. So this is an example schedule. Let's say you eat breakfast at 8 o'clock. Then you'll have lunch at 12, you'll have a snack at 3, and you'll have dinner at 6. This will be spacing out your meals and your snacks so that your blood sugar can come up appropriately and come down appropriately instead of this up, down, like we saw in the chart previously. Here's another chart. I do have a lot of charts in this presentation because I'm a visual learner and I like to teach visually as well. If you're not really a chart person, you can still take a look and see what I'm talking about, get a visual on how blood sugar works. So, food choice matters. If you're looking at the chart, carbohydrates are a macronutrient, carbs, protein, and fat, they're all macronutrients, and carbohydrates are indicated by the orange. So as you can see in the orange, it is a pretty steep hike up where the blood sugar goes up, and it's pretty steep coming down when the blood sugar comes down. So this is what's going on with your blood glucose when you have carbohydrates. And then in the green and in the yellow, that's your protein and your fat, your other macronutrients. They're actually a slower incline and less steep going down. So when you eat your carbohydrates with your protein and your fat, it actually brings down the spike of the carbohydrates to be lower. So you want to make sure that when you're eating your foods, you want to have a nice balanced plate of carbohydrates, protein, and fat. In the nutrition space, we have this silly little phrase, and it's don't eat your carbs naked. You want to dress them up with proteins and fats. So, if anything, from this presentation, remember, don't eat naked carbs, dress them up with protein and fat. If you have your carbohydrates paired with these other types of macronutrients, it's going to lessen the blood sugar spike and lessen the blood sugar drop to an appropriate level. Here is yet another chart. So again, in the green, that is a healthy blood sugar response level. And what this chart is it looks at 3 different types of carbohydrates and how it impacts your blood sugar throughout time. There is a debate about carbs. Should we have them? Should we not have them? Should we eliminate them completely? Some people say, no, carbs are completely fine. Others are like, carbs are the devil, stay away. So in order to explain to you scientifically what is going on in the body when it comes to consuming carbs, this should shed a little light on the types of carbohydrates that would be best for people to consume depending on what their goals are. So on the x-axis, which is the bottom line, that is time going by, and then the y-axis going up and down is the spike and drop of the blood sugar. So the red line, those are going to be your sugary foods or fruits. If you eat that, you're going to have a quick and a short spike and drop. When it's quick and short and pretty high, you're going to feel really good right after eating, but then just maybe 30 minutes to an hour after eating those foods, you're going to feel hungry again because the blood glucose is out of the bloodstream and your body thinks it needs more to fuel itself, even though that might not be true. The next carb option is going to be your white refined rice, pasta, bread, and that's in yellow. It's going to come up and then it's going to go down. But as you can see, just like the red, it is outside the green optimal range of healthy blood sugar. I'm not saying that eating fruits and refined pastas are bad, but there is a strategy to eating them, and there is a strategy to the blue. So let's talk about that. So the blue line is going to be another type of carbohydrates, which are your vegetables, your legumes, and stuff like beans. These actually have fiber. These are fibrous carbs. And what fiber does is it blunts the blood sugar spike. It dulls it so it's not as high. It also provides bulk to your food as it goes through the digestive system to help you with your digestion. So we've got sugary carbs, we've got moderately processed carbs, and then we have high fiber carbs. The best option for a healthy blood sugar is the high fiber carbs. But if you are concerned about cutting out some of your favorite foods like sugary foods, fruits, and white breads and pastas, I'm going to tell you how to eat them strategically so that you don't have a huge blood sugar spike. There is a question I get about fruits. When people see this chart, they're like, I thought fruits were healthy. I should be eating more fruits. I love eating fruits. They're good for you. Yes, fruits are great. I'm not saying cut out fruits. I'm a huge fan of fruits, but there's a strategic way of eating them. One of those strategies is eating those right before a meal, maybe 20 to 30 minutes as like an appetizer, doing some cut up fruit before a meal. The other option that you have that won't spike your blood sugar is, again, not eating naked carbs, but dressing them up with fiber, but dressing them up with protein and fat. For example, I really like to eat apples. I really like to eat apples with peanut butter on them, which provide a component of both fat and protein. And sometimes I'll put some mini chocolate chips on top of the apple slices with peanut butter as well. That is a really good balanced snack in order to hit all my macronutrients and have some micronutrients as well. All right, moving on. This is another strategy and tool that I want to give you, and it's called the plate guide. This is something that I teach my clients to do. Instead of counting all of their calories and macronutrients, this is actually a really good way to focus on balancing your plate and eating a healthy meal without getting caught up in all of the numbers. This is what it looks like. 50% of your plate should be vegetables. I'll tell my clients, eat the rainbow, eat the most colorful vegetables. We have an array. You've got red peppers, you've got green peppers, you've got yellow peppers, you have green vegetables like kale and spinach. Tomatoes are really bright red. Eggplant is purple, like the rainbow. When I say eat the rainbow, I literally mean eat the rainbow. Next part of your plate should be about 25% of the plate should be a protein source. I recommend eating 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal so that you're getting the right amount of protein per day that your body needs to function well. Now, when I say get 25 to 30 grams of protein, that can be a little confusing. So what I mean by that is the protein content of what you're consuming, not the weight. For example, a 3-ounce grilled chicken breast, 3 ounces is how much it weighs. If you were to put it on a scale, the piece of chicken breast weighs 3 ounces. The protein content of that has 25 to 30 grams of protein in it. So that's what I mean by content of protein. And then the last 25% of your plate approximately should be carbs and starches. Remember what we talked about a couple slides back. We want to have those fibrous carbs as well as the refined carbs if we're going to add that to our plate as well. We want a nice balance. We want to dress up our carbs with protein and fat. Pro tip. Fats. They're a little bit isolated on the plate. They don't seem to have a place on our list here, but fats are actually either a part of a protein food or a carbohydrate food. They don't often come by themselves. They can sometimes, but usually we'll see fats as a part of a salad dressing, like an oil-based dressing. It'll be part of sauces or it will be part of cooking oils. So that's usually where our fats come from. We don't want our fats to take up too much of our diet. I also want to show you another tip and tool is to eat in this order. Eat the vegetables first, eat the protein second, and eat the carbs last. If you are on a journey of getting your blood sugar really under control, this is one of those things that will really push you over the edge onto getting that blood sugar regulated. It's a really simple way to structure your plate and order the food that you eat to ensure that your blood sugar spike is lowered. It'll slow the release of insulin. It'll reduce those insulin resistant symptoms that you're going to have. I want to give you guys some other solutions as well. I've offered a few, and it can be overwhelming trying to do all of them, but even if you just took a handful of these and implemented them consistently, you're going to get so much farther in controlling your blood sugar spikes, helping with weight loss and reducing your insulin resistance and metabolic disorders than you are if you were to skip these tips. So some of these other tips and tools: have a savory breakfast over a sweet one. We're used to, especially in the Western world, having sugary cereals or pancakes drizzled with syrup, or donuts and croissants and bagels. Those are very high carbohydrate and high sugar foods. And what consuming those first thing in the morning does is it actually puts us on the roller coaster and we won't be able to get off. So opt for eggs, bacon, some potato hash for a nice savory breakfast over a sweet one. I also want to help people break the stigma of having non-breakfast foods for breakfast. Your body doesn't know that it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner. If you want to have some chicken for breakfast, that's protein, that is savory, that is really good for your body. It does not matter if it's not labeled by society in the world as a breakfast food. You can have that food at any time of day because your body recognizes food as information. The information to help make amino acids, which will help your DNA, which will help your body do what it's supposed to do and heal and digest. Food is fuel. Food is information. So it does not matter what time of day you're eating a certain type of food. Same thing, choose your savory snacks over sweet ones. And then this one, don't have coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. This is a habit that many of us have. I've had it for many years, but I have learned to change it. So if you wake up tired, you automatically think your instant solution is coffee. Let me change your mind on that. Biologically, what's happening in the body is when you wake up in the morning, that hormone cortisol is naturally at a higher level. That helps you get out of bed and get moving. Even if you feel a little groggy, a little sluggish, cortisol is in an optimal body pretty high. We'll talk about cortisol testing a little bit later to see where yours is at. When you introduce caffeine, which is a stimulant, to the bloodstream, it triggers the release of even more cortisol. So you're going to have high cortisol from getting up, but you're also going to have even higher cortisol from ingesting caffeine. And the more cortisol, like we talked about, increases the more blood glucose in the bloodstream. Your blood sugar is going to be way higher than it needs to be, and you haven't even had a meal to bring it back down. So I recommend you can have coffee in the morning. Just have it after a meal or later in the morning in order for you to feel the best effects from the caffeine. Walk after meals. 15 to 30-minute walks after meals help to lower that blood sugar spike, help with that insulin getting your energy to the cells to be used, some of it immediately. It helps with weight loss walking after meals because when you eat, the fuel from the food is actually used quicker than it would be if it were to get stored for a while until you did your next active movement. Next, you can use your hands. Next, start meals with a salad. So salads are your vegetables. That is first in what I recommended for eating in a certain ordered way on your plate. Vegetables first, and then protein, and then carbs. Starting with the salad, especially if you have a vinegar-based salad dressing, that can help with lowering your blood sugar spike. And last but not least, hand portion tool. So we have two hands with us at all times of day, most of us do at least, and the size of our hands can actually be markers for portion sizing. If we don't have a regular sized plate and we're eating out or we're at a party, we can use our hands to portion out foods to help us stay on track with our goals. So cupped handfuls are an appropriate portion of carbs. A closed fist is an appropriate portion of protein. And then the top of your thumb is an appropriate portion of fats. Now this will be doubled or tripled or halved or whatever, depending on whatever health and weight loss goals that you have. But having your hands as portion size tools with you at all times will ensure that you don't overeat or undereat. And one more thing, consistency. Like I was talking about a few minutes ago, there's a lot that I have taught you here, but if you don't start to take action, even with just one of these tools that I've given you, you're not going to get closer to your goals, and it's not going to help lower your blood sugar and help you get healthier. So pick one or two things that I have shared to implement and stick with it. Once you feel pretty confident in those, you can start adding more and more habits and see how your blood sugar changes. So again, a lot of information, but it doesn't mean anything to you if you don't take action. These are 3 ways that you can start to take action and get control of your blood sugar and your health. Number 1, you can get blood work done with your PCP, health practitioner, or whoever you see for your blood work. You can get your glucose, insulin, and A1C tested regularly. If you have blood sugar dysregulation patterns and problems or predisposition for diabetes and Alzheimer's, I would recommend getting tested multiple times a year, especially if you're trying to work on it. But if not, once a year is completely fine, ensuring that you're staying in the right ranges. You can also do a CGM, which stands for a continuous glucose monitor. This is a little hardcore because you are going to be injecting a temporary glucose monitor into your arm for at least 2 weeks to 3 weeks, depending on how long it lasts. But it is a live, real-time monitor for blood sugar. It gives you the numbers to your phone in an app, so you can test how does this food affect your blood sugar if you eat a donut on an empty stomach versus if you eat a donut after a balanced meal of protein, carbs, and fat. How does that affect your blood sugar in real time? And then the last thing you can do to take action is test your cortisol and test your other hormones, like your sex hormones, in a hormone panel. And working as an integrative health practitioner, I can do any or all of these with my clients depending on what their goals are. Several of my clients choose to do their blood work through their primary care physician and send the labs over to me to help monitor progress and help them come up with solutions as they lower those numbers. Some of them will share their CGM numbers with me, especially if they're trying to manage diabetes. And some people will opt for hormones to get tested because they feel that their blood sugar dysregulation is hormonal based and hormonal related. Wherever you are, if you want to try one or multiple of these, I'm here for you to work with you. Here's some no-cost options that I offer everybody. I've got a free metabolic assessment for people who are wondering what's wrong with my metabolism? Why can't I lose weight? What's going on? It's a really short assessment looking at metabolism and what could be getting in the way. I will look over those results personally, and I will reach out to you with my thoughts on what you could be doing better, what could be fixed on how you're approaching your weight loss journey. I also offer a free hormone assessment. This is geared towards women, but it is a little bit of a longer assessment because we're looking at 6 or 7 different hormones in the female body to see where those imbalances might be. Again, I'm going to go over these personally, and I'm going to get back to you with which of the hormones might be out of whack so we can pursue further testing and work together to balance them. I also offer a free consultation to anybody, no matter what your goals are, what you're feeling. Maybe you're suspecting some hormonal imbalances, or you have gut issues and you want to consult, or you just want someone to keep you accountable for weight loss. I offer free 20-minute consultations virtually to anyone all across the world. All you have to do is send me an email at vanessa@connectedhabits.com. Thank you guys for your attention. I hope you have learned some amazing things about how to balance your blood sugar and what's going on in your body and why you feel those afternoon crashes and lapses in energy and maybe some brain fog. I hope I was able to give you some answers and some insights. I would love to hear from you. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Connected Habits Coaching. I also have a Facebook page with the same name. And you can check out my website at connectedhabits.com or shoot me an email to claim that free consultation, get more information about those assessments, or ask any questions you have. Vanessa@connectedhabits.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.